to start the day with us. My name is Ben-Yishai. I'm a partner at Viewpoint, a venture capital fund. I won't talk much about what we do, but we spend a lot of time in insurance and have a large network of insurance entities that we deal with, and I think that's the reason I was invited to moderate this panel. Joined today with our good friends, Bas and Patrick. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Nice to be here. Thank you to ITI for inviting me alongside Ori and Bas. I'm Patrick Miller. I'm head of applied AI at WTW. I came in to WTW through the Newfront acquisition about 4 months ago, where I led data and AI at the company up through our acquisition. My career is in machine learning and technology. I was at Google training large language models, 8 years ago, building Gen AI products at Newfront, and now I'm at WTW to turn the company into the most AI native global broker that there is.
Very happy to be here. My name is Bas. I spent over a decade in the insurance industry. With AXA, if there are some ex-colleagues still here. Beyond that, I spent time in AI and machine learning companies like Instabase, where I was also focused on insurance, and spent a long time in fintech. And about 6 weeks ago, I joined OpenAI in order to focus on industry marketing, amongst others on financial services and insurance. And I'm excited to be here in order to show and talk more about what OpenAI can do for the insurance industry.
Awesome, thank you. So let's get going. Since ChatGPT came into our lives on November 30th, 2022, but who counts? The insurance industry jumped into action, and we've sort of moved. We've seen the carriers in our network moving from exploratory to pilots, moving into implementing the early use cases, and from there into sort of full production. But I think the common sort of through line in the last 3.5 years has been focus on, for lack of a better word, on efficiency. Do what we do, just do it better and do it faster and do it cheaper. In your perspectives, and maybe we'll start with Bastiaan, in your perspectives, what use cases have stuck? What is durable? Where do you see, and what maybe examples of things that have not worked as well? And then Patrick, as we go to you, is this thing that you built at Newfront and now at WTW, where is the focus today?
Happy to, thank you, Ori. I think that the real step change that has happened over literally the last couple of months is the use of agentic and how that impacts people's personal lives. And let me give you an example of how this impacts my own working life on a day-to-day basis. So every single morning, I have Codex go through all of my emails, all of my Slack channels, all of my folders where I store my knowledge on the different projects that I work on, and it prepares my day, like an assistant that tells me what to focus on, what to kind of prepare on, even prepares my emails already, and does all of that for me. Likewise, on particular projects, it goes through what the challenges are, who should I be talking to, and in order to resolve them. And if I make the parallel to workflows that an underwriter in a P&C company would have, they go through the same thing. They have email inboxes that have submissions from brokers. They have to be parsed, they have to be prepared, they have to be prioritized, and Codex can do all of those things on a day-to-day basis. And I think that is a massive step change in how people can work and operate on a day-to-day basis, and that is going to become very common over the next few months for anyone in this room.
Patrick.
Yeah, so maybe I can take a little journey through time. So Newfront has had AI legitimately in production since 2023. We're talking about 3 years of real results. Spike Lipkin, WTW's chief AI officer, a month ago on the earnings call talked about all of our success here. And you do have a lot of those efficiency gains that we found at Newfront, but we were really focused on the client experience. And it shows up in the numbers. And we measured this pretty concretely for those 3 years. And so producers, colleagues at Newfront who were selling with the AI value proposition, with our technology at the forefront, would win 50% more new business than colleagues who were not leading with that technology in front and center. And on the back end, clients who were engaging with our AI-powered technology were churning at half the rate. These are like real results, not pilots, that drove growth for Newfront up until the acquisition. And maybe I can give a couple examples of what we built.
Yeah.
So on the benefits side, on the health and benefits side, in 2023 we released Benji, our benefits assistant, which helped HR teams avoid all of those frontline questions around what's my deductible, is my iguana covered by my pet insurance, things that they don't want to be dealing with, and they were saving up to 2 weeks per year since 2023. On the risk and broking side, we have this AI-powered contract review tool, which every company, whether you're life sciences, technology, construction, you have contracts, they have insurance requirements in them. Off the top of your head, you don't know what your insurance program is. Yeah. And so you would usually email your broker, right? And you'd wait a week for them to get back to you. And that's a lot of time to be waiting on a contract that your stakeholders internally are asking to be signed right away. And so our AI-powered contract review tool takes a contract and within minutes tells you, is it in compliance with your insurance program? What are the best practices from an insurance perspective that are maybe not in that contract, so you can get on with your day within 5 minutes and not waiting a week. The common thread here is client experience, but it's saving our clients time. Yeah. They're busy. A lot of them don't want to think about these types of problems. They don't really want to think about insurance in the middle market. Yeah. And so can you give them time back is what we found, in addition to all of those sort of more AI efficiency plays internally that we've built for colleagues.
Makes sense. I think what I'm hearing is, Bastiaan, your comments, from a carrier's perspective, the efficiency is both internally, but also the experience of the broker. So in the carrier to broker relationship, and what Patrick, you're describing is efficiencies internally for the internal user, which is a client, the producer is a customer for the firm, but also the relationship between the broker and the customer. And so those are the two threads, the two seams that you focus on. Excellent. Patrick, you set us up nicely with the earnings call. I actually haven't, I haven't read the WW one, but it's a great tee up for the next question I have. There have been very few public companies, CEOs in insurance who have committed to the market real monetary impact, real financial impact from AI. Travelers, Chubb on the P&C side come to mind with public statements. Travelers committed to reducing their claims call centers from 4 to 2, and on the life side, I think Manulife comes to mind. But in general, there haven't been many public statements, and that in and of itself is interesting. I wonder to what degree that is because the insurance entities, the insurance players also recognize that for all of the tailwinds that AI brings to profitability, there's also some interesting and important headwinds that are hitting insurance, both as enterprises and as carriers of risk for other entities. What are your thoughts on both? And maybe Bas, you start.
Sure. I think so at the end of the day, AI is technology. And technology means that it is a double-edged sword. It means that it can do things for adversaries. It can also do things for greater benefit. And so when I think about that, when you're thinking about adjacent industries, whether that is in legal industry or medical industry, their frictions of like having to write letters and complaints from our customers and lawyers and things like that, their frictions have gone down as well. And so that allows them to increase the volume of inbound emails, and I think that is what a lot of carriers and brokers are currently seeing. Now, obviously, those same companies can deal with that information, sift through it more quickly, and all of that. I think that when you're thinking about this idea of a double-edged sword, that comes to a point when you're talking about cybersecurity. And so very, very rapidly, I'm not sure how many of us here in the room have been following this, but there's something called an exploitation window, which refers to the idea of a adversary, the time that it takes an adversary to find a vulnerability in your system and exploit it. That literally 18 months ago was about 2 years. Today, that is about a day. And it's going down further. And so I think that the common thread between these two places, Ori, is that we need to get to a world that is, we spoke about a little bit earlier about agentic, and I think that is where a lot of this needs to go. The idea of I'm going to manually receive an email from a lawyer and review it and make up my mind about it, whether this is real or nonsense. Likewise, to see hey, there is a new vulnerability. I'm going to have my weekly pen test and monthly patch window. Those types of workflows, they need to change. And so have a more agentic, automatic workflows to deal with these types of things.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll pull on a thread of the offensive capabilities of your clients.
Yeah.
In fact, we recently joined WTW, and within about a month, an RFP came across the desk of some team that we were deployed, working with. Engineers deployed with brokers is a big part of Newfront's model, and the RFP described an incumbent broker missing some basics, quote to binder not matching up that they didn't catch. Simple gaps in a policy that could meaningfully have led to uncovered claims. And these are problems that we had solved with agentic technology at Newfront, and we were able to run all of those documents as part of this very short RFP process through what we already had in terms of the technology, get those results, show the prospect that yes, in fact, the combination of our specialty expertise with the AI technology that we have is able to provide a client experience where we aren't going to drop the ball on this stuff anymore. Yeah. And the only reason this came up was because the client, the risk manager, has Codex on her laptop. Yeah. And so she's able to do these sort of very basic things that they've expected from brokers for a while, but now those basics you cannot drop anymore. And so you have to level up your game to be able to do things that are at least what the risk managers that are on the other side are doing. Yeah. And you have to be able to use the technology to go even beyond that, because nobody's paying a broker to be a paper pusher. They're paying you to be a trusted advisor. And how are you leveling up your advisory game with something like Codex, with something like Claude Cowork? Because if you're not doing that, they're just going to take their business elsewhere.
Yeah, interesting. So I think Bas, your point. So there are adjacent industries. When they become more efficient thanks to ChatGPT, thanks to AI, they push the friction that from their side to insurance. So an example, a doctor who is a lot more efficient in seeing patients, and ambient AI captures the notes and files the claims and does not miss on claims code. So your point is the carriers must, sort of the way that carriers should face that is with agentic AI on their own. And obviously pricing actions, because the slippage is gone, or the claim side is becoming more efficient. The same goes to lawyer or property services. And then you do have the large risks. I mean, we are aware of at least 5 startups that are proactively searching for mass tort and class action lawsuits. And they're creating claims that did not exist before. And I think, Patrick, your point is, yes, the brokers, broker plays a role in protecting their clients against those kind of risks. Again, using AI. So building the platform against the platform, which is interesting. Great. Let's use that to move into sort of the next topic. Maybe I'll use Satya Nadella's framework on the modern firm. He talks about the modern company as a combination of token capital and human capital. As you think about that framework and the actual cost of both human capital and token capital, not just hard dollars, but also talent, where does that leave you as you think about the question is there an opportunity? Are we looking at the point in time, at a window in time, where large players can gain significant market share at the expense of small carriers who lack access to token capital and access to human capital? Are we in a point in time where smaller players are at risk of getting caught in a death spiral? What should we expect to see in the industry, both carriers and brokers, in the next, 3 to 5 years? And Bas, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think that it's a loaded question, right?
Thank you.
For everyone in the room, we actually been hotly debating this already, and which is funny to play it out here on the stage. I'm naturally a very, very positive person, and the way that I'm looking at this is the lowering of threshold for anyone. And so the idea, and this is not just coming from me, Sam talks about this in exactly the same way, is that the idea of the large frontier AI labs, and it's not just OpenAI, it's our competitors as well, is to bring intelligence and compute at an extraordinarily low cost to anyone who wants it. And that's the core idea. That means that the opportunity to build, the opportunity to identify something new, to realize an idea. You don't have to be a coder anymore. You don't have to be you don't need specific knowledge in order to build something. People in the farthest corners of the world have access to specialized knowledge and the ability to build at a really, really low cost. That's a very interesting proposition. So it starts opening up pockets that maybe the most talented insurance underwriter hasn't been discovered yet, and because they never had a chance, right? And so I think that is one angle, which is the very positive angle, that it lowers the threshold to enter the industry, to do very interesting things, to build new businesses, and do so at really low cost. So I take a very positive view of that. I actually think that it will increase competition in a way that if you are a talented person, you have a unique advantage, you now have everything you could possibly need in order to build a business around that and go to market. So yeah, that's my view around that. If I think about that, I think it makes for a very interesting world for us, where I hope there's a lot of new innovation coming to place for people that previously may never had a chance to.
Yeah.
I totally agree that the cost of intelligence has never been lower. The access to intelligence is it's amazing how quickly things have come even in the last 6 months. I think the implications in my mind are a little bit different, though. I do agree that it's never been easier for everyone in this room to be a builder, and everyone should be. But while the cost of being able to be a builder has gone down, the cost of distribution has not. The cost of trust has not gone down. The cost of generating proprietary data that can back specialty advice still not gone down, because that specialty data, that proprietary data, doesn't really actually today make it into GPT 5.5, at least today it doesn't. And so I think the implications of that is that advantage is going to concentrate to the incumbents who already have the distribution, who already have the trust, and who already have the proprietary data, because the proprietary data feeds into better advice, that better advice feeds into more distribution, and that's the flywheel that I think will continue to happen, provided that those large incumbents actually can execute in a nimble enough fashion with the huge wave that the frontier labs have created for all of us. And so, yes, smaller companies can be more nimble and can build more quickly, but translating that into a durable competitive advantage when the incumbents have access to the same type of intelligence, I think will be quite difficult. It's one of the reasons why Newfront joined with WTW, right? Is we were building this stuff in 2023. Now, anyone can build a lot of the stuff my team built in 2023 and 2026, but what we were seeing is it's really hard to build distribution at least in the broking space. And so I think proprietary data, which is something that we pride ourselves on at WTW and analytics on top of that, as well as a culture of being builders. As long as you have those two things, I think the incumbents can do quite nicely in this age, and small players might struggle to really take away that distribution from them.
Let's see how things play out. I don't really know. I think that the fair points that you're absolutely making are the ideas that if your kind of like business advantage is somehow based on like an asymmetry of information simply because you know something better, like how a process works, versus like your customer, that's not a durable advantage and cannot, in the near future, maybe even today, cannot really be a business proposition anymore. I think the same thing when it comes to like asymmetry of information or just spreadsheeting. These spreadsheeting cannot be really a durable advantage. So I completely take that point. How that is going to play out, I think it's going to be super interesting. There's going to be some smaller players that are, are really good at the durable things like trust and are just excellent sellers, and they will take these tools and become very big very quickly. But I agree, like the same applies to like a larger company.
Yeah. Going back to your human capital thing, you can't just throw bodies anymore at your clients. I don't think that works because it's not a true advantage if you're just pushing paper around.
Exactly.
The two theses I'm hearing is the thesis that supports, and there's no personal bias in saying because you guys joined a large player, but the thesis that supports the large players have an opportunity is they have advantage in human capital today. They have deeper bench of experts who can customize the models, because it's all about having your own point of view on the evals as you customize the model, whatever, the multi-tenant model or not, that's whatever. But they have the capital to set up the AI infrastructure that's required, so they can throw capital and people at it. The smaller players cannot, and therefore they sort of run with it. And every year that goes by, the gap just increases, and therefore there's a potential death spiral for mid. The thing what Bastiaan is saying, that is true for mid-size and small carriers who are broad and shallow, meaning they try to go over many many product lines, but they're not deep enough in any. But if you think about sort of mid-market excess and surplus players in P&C, or people who specialize in corporate-owned life insurance, they have deep expertise and they can actually protect their turf, and not only that, they can expand their turf because they can customize the models better than the large carrier that has just one product line. Okay, that's interesting. No answer, but hopefully gives people some food for thought. Let's talk about, because you mentioned spreadsheeting, which leads me to producers. And I know many people in the room either are on the production side or targeting production. We as investors, that's the only thing we do, focus on producer-led markets, which is one of them is insurance. So we spend a lot of time thinking about AI as a potential disruptor to producers. And that brings to mind is the February press release by a startup not to be named up in Boston, that they got embedded into ChatGPT, that led to a pretty sharp drop in the stock prices of several large brokers, including one that's represented on the stage. And right or wrong, that was the impact, which means that many producers are freaking out. Is AI coming for their jobs? Will AI replace the human advisor, the human agent, the human seller? Maybe Patrick, we'll start with you.
Yeah, certainly that announcement hurt my brokerage account. So, look, I think it's true, especially in the personal line space. It's been happening for years before, Gen AI was even a thing, right? Disintermediation was happening. In the large and complex space, in the middle market, I'll leave you with this, is on your worst day in your career, when your business is on fire, when you have a massive lawsuit coming at you, when you have a multi-million-dollar claim that you need to address, you don't want to be locked in a room with just a chatbot that's helping you answer questions about how to address this. You want a trusted human advocate that you can go to who's on your side, that can go and advocate for you with the carrier to make sure you get a great outcome in terms of the insurance program that they built together. And so I struggle to see a CFO, a general counsel, moving away from that trusted relationship, moving away from that advocacy that you get with a broker anytime soon. I don't think, we're talking several years until people are going to build that type of trust with any sort of Gen AI platform. And so what I will say though is, even for big brokers, it may not be disintermediation, which people should be afraid of, but if you are just spreadsheeting, if you're just pushing paper, your clients are going to start asking a lot more of you. They're going to be asking for you to be much more AI enabled. Are you using something like Codex in order to up your game? Are you getting capacity back so you can deliver more client-ready risk management advice to me? Because if you're not, I'm going to lower your fees. And so there might be some sort of fee compression that happens in the future for the brokers who are just doing the same old. You cannot be stuck in the past and expect any good result, to be honest.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think that is just entirely true. And I think that we all notice as well. And we've seen this all around us. Like has never been easier to leverage AI or ChatGPT in order to create content. Yet, great content writers still write better content with ChatGPT than I do. Like that's the most obvious example. If you go a little bit deeper, OpenAI employs a lot of data scientists. Like, it's never been easier to go through massive amounts of data and put like really complex analyses on them and put them on a dashboard, and that's fantastic. But if you don't know or don't understand what those things mean or how they were derived, then you still cannot explain them to your +1 or +2. And so that will still remain important. And so like I think what you're expressing, Patrick, is that those things that don't change over time, which is like trust, understanding, like those are the types of things that are not changing. It just makes it makes the other things like the spreadsheeting, the kind of like the grinding, it makes all of that like a lot less important.
I will say that Codex is a lot better at building PowerPoint presentations than I am anymore, and so maybe it's not quite there at interpreting analytics, but it's getting scary good.
There we go. You hear it from a chief AI or the head of applied AI for WW. The two concepts I heard here, number one is the more complex and consequential the product is, the more likely it is that the human relationship is protected. And I'm hearing trust, which is so long that AI is not as the same level trustworthy and without, as a human advisor, the human producer is protected. Excellent. As we're getting close to the end, maybe we'll shift gears briefly to the future. Without not putting you on the spot and asking you how the industry will look like in 10 years, but maybe more, what is most exciting to you in the next 5 to 10 years, based on where you sit today, what you'd expect to see?
That's an extraordinarily long window for a company that produces new products every 1.3 days. That's a real statistic. So I think that I will answer this more like in terms of like the usage, like stuff that I'm extremely excited about and that gets me like still like wondering as a child through like of wonders. A real-time voice and real-time translation only came out like just a couple of weeks ago in one of its best formats. That just blows my mind. And the way that actually gets applied for some of our customers, like travelers, for example, their contact centers, those are really, really interesting uses of technology. I think that I'm most excited about, and this is not 5 or 10 years away, this is literally a couple of months away, is that just a couple of years ago, we talked a lot about big data, right? And this was a huge thing. I was in it as well with a lot of different propositions in different companies at the time. What I'm excited about is like how we can go with single prompts going through massive databases with instant insights. And so that is a world that we are, like very, very close to. And if I'm thinking about like insurance underwriters and like large portfolios and going through decades of data and like instantly understand like what a risk is and what it means, is it accurate or not to your portfolio, I think that's super interesting. But that's months away rather than years.
I understand.
Yeah, definitely excited about that. I mean, you already see it. I basically have an analyst, a very good analyst, on my laptop running at all times. And similarly, right now, something that feels futuristic to me, I mean, it's just been a couple of months, but it's just crazy to me how the stuff that took 20 engineers to build in 2018 at Google to a couple engineers to build in a couple of months in 2024 at Newfront. Now we're working with teams at WTW who have Codex or Claude Cowork right there on their desktop, and they're building 80% of the functionality in a skill just right there themselves, no engineer needed, and just getting better results for their clients off the back of that. It feels so futuristic that we're already there, and so I struggle to actually prognosticate about anything beyond 6 months from now.
And a large corporate does that, not a startup.
Exactly, large corporate.
Which is amazing. Well, guys, thank you so much. The red light is blinking here. Bas, Patrick, thank you. I enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully, all of you guys did as well, and we appreciate your time.